I have been very critical of the Ubisoft Plus subscription game service, not because I'm not a huge fan of Ubisoft. I am. If you've been watching any of my content over the last couple months, you know my obsession with the Division 2, the sheer amount of value I think you get in many Ubisoft games. Whether you love them or hate them, you've got to admit, when you buy an Ubisoft game, you are committing to a significant chunk of time if you want to do all the side quests and all the collectibles. There is very, very dense content inside of Ubisoft games. But the subscription service itself, not so good. And I think Ubisoft is finally aware of that. I'll be talking about that. But before I do, I would love for you guys to subscribe to the channel. Ubisoft subscription service currently runs you $14.99 a month, and it gets you pretty much any single thing Ubisoft has ever made. Unlimited access to all of their titles, the gold edition of their titles, all that wonderful stuff. And you're seeing right now one of the many things I hate about this subscription service and why I was unable to successfully review it when it launched last year or the year before. I don't know. Time's all a blur thanks to COVID. It's because their site leads you to a French site. And when you try to pay, your credit card's like, hey, this is an international transaction. It doesn't seem to understand. Even their website is in French. It's dumb. I don't understand it. It's just very, very confusing. And no matter how many times you update your location and say, hey, please stop directing me to the US website, when you do, it takes you right off of the Ubisoft site where I was looking at the Ubisoft subscription service, and it instead pumps me over to the Ubisoft store. I don't want the Ubisoft store. If I wanted the Ubisoft store, I would have clicked on the Ubisoft store. Why are you doing this to me? You know what? I don't care. Leave it in French. We're just looking at box art. It's fine. So they have quite a few lists. They have a lot of stuff here. And like I said, this is the full gold edition for all these games. There's a lot. Anything that's ever come out from Ubisoft, they have. And as I mentioned, it runs you $14.99 a month. I don't think it's very popular. I don't think it's gaining traction, particularly when you look at their big competitor, the giant elephant in the room, Xbox Game Pass, which I think is a much better value. Although games do come and leave there. It's tied in with the Xbox Gold service if you're a console user. It's got the cloud streaming service connected to it now if you're interested in that. And it seems to have just a better sampling of games, my opinion. But I clearly am not alone on that thought, because the other day I got an email from Ubisoft asking me, hey, listen, if we shook up our Ubisoft subscription-based service, would you be interested in it? And they sent me 3 options here. This is, by the way, the actual copy of the email that I found online. I mean, I could show you my inbox, but this is nicer because it's a little easier to read. Somebody got the same email I did. There's 3 different services they're offering, all Ubisoft Plus titled. We have Lite, we have Basic, and we have Classic. So let's go ahead and start with Ubisoft Lite. Now, this is by no means the official announcement. This is just them basically saying, hey, look, we are really thinking about mixing this up. A lot of times when you see these surveys, it's all but concluded at that point. They're just trying to get a feel for kind of what people would be interested in. So Ubisoft Plus Lite, you'll notice right away the price is $5 a month as opposed to $14.99 a month, but it only includes the standard edition of each game. So it's not the gold edition or the platinum edition. You're not going to get all the included season passes or the cosmetic armors or the level boosts or whatever Ubisoft is throwing in with their other titles. This is just the basic game. And they list a few of ones that you can get here. Note it's not the latest and greatest. The and many more obviously is a big, kind of a red flag. But you're going to get Far Cry 5. You get Assassin's Creed Odyssey and Origins, but not Valhalla. You're going to get The Crew 2. You're going to get For Honor, Rainbow Six Siege, Anno 1800, Uno. And it does say that as well. It's beloved franchises, which games released 18 months ago or before. So draw a line in the sand. 18 months is the big selling feature of this. But $5 a month isn't too bad. That's a pretty good wealth of content. Basically, for this cost, games are what, $60, $70 now, depending on where you are. You're basically paying over the course of the year the cost you pay for one game. Granted, it's not the newest game, but there's still a lot to select from. Next is Ubisoft Plus Basic, which you'll see the list is now included, and it's now 12 months ago or before. Notice it is still the standard edition of these games, but now you see some of the other games that made the cut because of that 12-month ago checkpoint, most notably Tom Clancy's The Division 2, a game I am absolutely obsessed with, and Tom Clancy's Ghost Recon Breakpoint. I think everybody's love to hate game. I've done many videos defending Breakpoint. I've given up on that, especially after some asshole online did this huge video review criticizing my video for like 30 minutes, and then he got more views than my original video did. I'm not bitter or anything. But yeah, you can see here now that increases to $7 a month. And then lastly, they have Ubisoft Plus Classic, which we're back to the 18th month window, but note now that it's to premium. So now it's all the DLC. It's all the content, the season passes, the level boost, the cosmetic armors, all that sort of thing. But it's back to 18 months, and this is $9 a month. I feel like they missed something here. I feel like there needs to be that. I think the 1 year with the gold edition of stuff where games are still somewhat relevant is good. The reason I say that, the Division 2 would fall under this category if you did have the Ubisoft Plus Basic. However, if you bought this subscription, let's say it existed today, you wouldn't get access to Warlords of New York or a lot of the other season content that is included as such of Warlords of New York, just as an example. And it's still relevant. People are still talking about it, still playing it. I feel like these subscription services that date back to 18 months or the 12-month without the premium edition with all the DLC, I feel like you'd be playing games in the past. You're always like catching up. You're not on the hottest, latest, newest, fun stuff. And I get it. A subscription-based service needs to be profitable in a way that it's not like, hey, for $1 a month, we give you everything. Of course, they get it. Ubisoft's got to make their money. That said, I feel like there's a better balance between this $15 a month, everything under the sun, and $5 a month. Hey, you can play games that everybody else was playing 2 years ago. There's got to be something in between, I think. And that's where I'm hoping that, based on my response to the survey, and I assume others, and maybe even this video, Ubisoft will look at that and say, hey, you know what? Yeah, we're missing a key thing here. We're missing that kind of mid-tier person. There's somebody who's not just like brand new to gaming. Like, hey, good news. You can play Assassin's Creed 2. It was a great game when it came out like 20 years ago. That would be a great subscription service for like my mom, who has never played a game before in her life, who would be like, wow, this is amazing. But for most people, we're on to the newer things. We saw that Assassin's Creed did go through a radical transformation, and we know that there's newer content available. So a lot of this old, backdated catalog stuff, it's cute to look at the thumbnails, and there are a ton of them to look at in this image here. And it's fun to peruse through the catalog list and say, wow, I have access to this, but I can promise you, nobody's jonesing to go back and play the first Far Cry. They're just not. Far Cry 3, I think, was definitely a fan favorite. You could argue 4 or 5 at that point, but like Far Cry 1 and 2, nobody cares about. So when you puff up the list with this old content, keep in mind who the audience is. And I can tell you that people are not going to be excited being gated 18 months ago on content that is a forever and a day to a lot of gamers. And I think people who are willing to pay a subscription service, that also, keep in mind that's your audience. So good idea. Poor implementation, but hey, you know what? I said the same thing about this store. I thought it was a bad idea. I thought that their implementation of Ubisoft Plus has been nothing short of a disaster since it started. Clearly now, even navigating the site, I have to look at it in French for you guys because it's not even letting me get access to this particular page. It is just not quite there. And I really do hope that they can fix it, because there are some major gems in here. Monster time sinks, all the Far Cry series, all the Assassin's Creed Odysseys with all the DLCs, monstrously just fun games. I mean, any of the Ghost Recon games with the amount of DLC and exploration that exists in those games. Tons of fun to play and go through. Just hard to get to. But that's for another day. Hey, hope you guys found this video informative. Leave some comments below. Let me know your thoughts on all of this. Do you find this exciting? Would you buy into this? I don't think I'm quite there yet, but it did pique my curiosity when I started to see sub $10 a month subscription services. I think the key that's missing, though, is the new content to go along with it. Sound off below. Let me know your thoughts. Thank you guys so much for watching. Take care of yourselves. And until next time, I will see you guys on the other side.